Back again. Thanks for coming. Thanks for tuning in. Today we need to talk about something that I call a proxy war. I don't call it that. Everybody calls it that. A proxy war. It's a huge part of American history. But first, a proxy war is a war that is encouraged, provoked, or supported by a major power that major power doesn't even participate directly. Now, sometimes definitions don't use that word directly, but that's a very important word, because in every proxy war, the major power is participating in some way. Whether it is advisement, whether it is money, whether it is troops or support or training or food, there is support. There is something that major power is doing that is causing the rebels, the militia, the smaller country to continue in an action that is usually mutually beneficial. So, a proxy war sounds kind of evil, and to be completely honest, it kind of is at times, but sometimes it's very normal, it's very benevolent. The problem with self-interest is a lot of people look at self-interest as being a bad thing, but self-interest is as natural as eating is self-interested. So if a country is self-interested, it's got to do things that are going to sustain it and are going to help it survive. Where does proxy war come in? So in the Cold War, the United States and the Soviet Union competed over everything. Yeah, pretty much everything. So they competed to get to space, they competed in products, they competed to have the best weaponry, the best defense. They competed in the Olympics, they competed in almost every aspect of society. There were spies in both countries, there were spies all around, there was distrust, there was bad feelings. And why were they competing? They were competing because after the Second World War, people realized that we needed a different way of organizing leadership and interacting as nations, countries, etc. And the old way wasn't going to work because the weaponry was too good. How can we prevent wars of straight aggression? How can we prevent empire building? How can we prevent a number of these things that led to not just one world war, but two? They had different ideas. The democratic capitalist country of the United States asserted itself as a leader, playing huge roles in both of those wars, and the Soviet Union did just the same. The United States looked to stop, contain the spread of communism because they felt one way to control and prevent another great war was to just be involved. Not necessarily imperialize, but intervene and stay involved. The isolationism that they tried to practice in between the wars obviously didn't work. So if they stayed involved, maybe that'll work. The United States and the Soviet Union staying involved in world affairs in most recent history hasn't been too bad, but during the Cold War, they looked at each other's actions very differently. So, the United States, or even the Soviet Union, supporting a country was almost like a way of wooing them into their side. The United States led the charge in supporting smaller countries in, independence, supporting smaller countries that wanted support after a natural disaster, wanted protection from an aggressive neighbor, etc., etc., etc. Maybe it was an economic depression. The United States offered all kinds of support. This is one way that they got a number of countries in Europe, South America, Africa, all over the place to adopt democracy and or capitalism, maybe both. Now, with this being said, it worked in some places, didn't work in others. There was still some aggression. There were still some places that said, hey, we're one country. No, we're one people and you're a different people. So what do we do with those situations? The United States found themselves in situations where maybe the Soviet Union or maybe some other aggressor was trying to force a smaller place to submit to their will. And that will was not in the best interest of the United States. Hey, we got a good relationship with this area. We have business or economic relationships with that area. Hey, we might have a military base or cultural connections to that area. What should we do? We don't want to always put boots on the ground and create another war. That doesn't always work out. Vietnam, we don't want to do that all the time. So sometimes money, sometimes training, sometimes other support and encouragement. Hey, you know what? You can fight this battle on your own. We'll help you with the equipment. Sometimes that's the way that we do it. And when you say, well, are we encouraging it? Or are we just, picking a side and helping? Well, you know what? Sometimes people are less likely to get involved in a conflict. Sometimes people are willing to submit to a larger authority if they know they don't have the equipment to even fight back. Have thousands of my people slaughtered, or politically try to work it out. So the presence of somebody supporting you with money, with technology, whatever, sometimes is the encouragement they need to actually wage a physical war against their oppressor or their bully of a neighbor. Now, depending on how that rolls out, that could be a good thing or a bad thing. Depending who are the parties and the players, sometimes it's like United States. Good job for fighting and helping and supporting the little guy. But sometimes it's like, wow, why'd you do that? Sometimes the people we support aren't necessarily good guys. They're just not communist. Sometimes the guys we support aren't necessarily good guys. They just for some reason love us and like us. And the true benefit isn't necessarily for the people of that smaller country. Maybe the benefit is for us as Americans. I'm not here to say we've always been wrong, but I'm not here to say we've always been right. Leadership does what they think is in the best interest of the world, their people, lasting stability, etc. Sometimes, like in Central and South America and the Middle East, a leader rises up in a collection of people that we view as very dangerous, so we'll support a group of people, if they exist, to overthrow him. And maybe a more stable leader will rise. Is that a good thing to do? Depends on the situation. Sometimes an aggressive power will try to force their way into a country that wants their autonomy and independence, and will help them defend themselves or fight off that aggressive neighbor or other country. Is that a good thing to do? I can't really say. But I will say, in the case of Afghanistan and Russia, after we help, there are collections of people in that region that we thought we were helping them stabilize. We're going to help you stabilize this region so you are not oppressed. And we'll develop business here and support your economy There were collections of people there that they thought it was their struggle. The United States didn't have any business helping. The Western world didn't have any business helping. This struggle was theirs. The Mujahideen, etc., really thought that we were out of place. And some of the training and weapons and so on and so forth actually get tangled up into what becomes the terrorist groups of the late 90s and early 2000s. So what can I say? Sometimes you stick your nose in it and you actually help that group of people get a worse leader than they had prior to. Sometimes you stick your nose in it and you end up fighting a fight that they don't want your help. They don't want your help. They don't want your influence. Sometimes you help out and really you find out that it's more of self-interest than a mutual benefit. But my question is, what's the alternative? I'm not saying proxy wars are a good thing, and at times they're evil, not a good thing. But what is the alternative? The alternative is not doing anything at all. And a lot of times when we ignore problems, they either get bigger or a lot of people suffer. So what do you think? Should the United States or any of the Western countries or any of the Eastern countries try to lend support and should any of those countries try to lend support when another country is in trouble, afraid, oppressed? Tell me what you think in the comments below. Proxy war, a war inspired, encouraged, provoked by a superpower that doesn't directly participate. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you soon. Always like, share, and subscribe. Let me know what you'd like to talk about next. Good luck on all your future tests, quizzes, or future learning.